Body break segments are familiar to many Canadians, but the story of how it began, not so. Co-host and creator Hal Johnson is now sharing that story, and he says it has to do with combating racism in Canadian media.
Without that TSN spawning me to think to go that route, without the racism that they displayed, without the racism of June 8th of 1988 by that client at Woodbine Racetrack, all those little things created BodyBreak, and we're happy to have hopefully given health and fitness tips to Canadians for 32 years, but also enlightened you that we all can live, work, and play together, regardless of our ability, disability, or skin color.
Hal Johnson joins us now from Oakville. And Hal, on a personal note, I mean, you were probably the first person who was racialized that I saw on TV. So I think you had an impact that you don't even know for many of us out there. Thanks for being our guest. I want to ask you, you spoke about TSN, you spoke about a Woodbine Racetrack commercial. Talk to us about how BodyBreak started in those two incidents.
Well, on June 8th of 1988 is when they actually, I faced it, is that there was a white woman and a white guy next to me, and we were at a racetrack, and we were acting. We were doing a commercial, and the assistant director went to the director, and he asked them to switch positions. Asked myself, or the woman and the white gentleman, to switch positions, and I asked why later, and they said, well, the client didn't want you next to the woman because people might suggest that you're together because she's white and I'm black. It'd be negative. They thought it was negative. So we switched, or they switched positions, and when I found that out, I thought, you know what can I do to make things better? And that's really what when Joanne and I, we came up with the concept of BodyBreak. But it was on June 8th of '88 that we said we can do something to show that everybody can be on television, everybody can live, work, and play together, as we've always said over the years.
And tell me about the TSN experience. What happened there?
Well, at TSN there was two incidents. The main one, or the main catalyst, was when we took it around to 42 different companies, and we were turned down by all of the companies. And then I went to TSN, and TSN loved the idea, but because I'm black and Joanne's white, they didn't think it would. The Canadian public was ready for it, so they then they wouldn't go with our BodyBreak episode. But so I went home and I thought, who would think this is a really good thing? And that's how I ended up with Participation. I called them that afternoon, and Participation loved it, and within about a very short period of time we had a contract with them, and literally the rest is history.
It's so hard to imagine. I mean, we're talking about the late 80s, so it's not like it was so long ago that a company is saying that it's not ready, that the Canadian public is not ready. Now, TSN today did issue an apology to you. I want to read it. It reads in part, "We apologize to Hal Johnson for the racism he experienced at TSN beginning in 1988, a shameful part of our past. It also recognizes there's a lot of work to do in Canadian media 30 years later when it comes to putting racialized people on television, Black, Indigenous, and people of color." Do you accept that apology, Hal?
Oh, I didn't need an apology. TSN didn't need to do that. I understand, they did it. That's nice, but I hold no ill will, no bitterness. I'm glad the guy told me the reason why I wasn't, because if I did, I wouldn't have gone to Participation. I wouldn't have thought of that. So what I always think about is, you try to make lemonade out of lemons. So somebody throws you a curveball, you go the other way with it. You hit it the other way. So that's one of the things that I always look at, trying to have a positive attitude. I got that from my parents, especially from my dad. You have a positive attitude, and if you get mad, you really can't think straight. If you yell and scream, you really can't focus on trying to win the war, and that's what Joanne and I together were trying to do in a very positive way. So I have no ill will at all. In fact, the funny thing is, TSN played BodyBreak as much as any other station. We also was played a lot after Young and the Restless on Global, for
right?
many years. So we had lots of stations across the country. We were at our height. We're being played between 1,500 to 1,800 a week, times a week across the country. So it's we thank the Canadian broadcasters for accepting us and for showing BodyBreak as much as they did.
There's so many issues, but if I could ask you, what is one solution you'd like to see right now? And do you think we are at a turning point in history?
Well, my dad, who's 88, said to me last week, he's more hopeful now than he's ever been before. So my dad's from South Philadelphia. He's gone through a lot over his years, far more than I have. His journey is far more difficult than mine, and so has my mom's been. So mine is minor compared to them, and my dad is hopeful. So if my dad can be hopeful, I am certainly hopeful that things are going to be better. Things are great now, and I have so many of my friends coming to me, my white friends, and saying, what can they do? And I always just tell them, just listen. Just listen, and it'll be the right time to talk. And I've talked to so many friends, and it's been very rewarding for me to see how all this has touched them, which has been very promising and very exciting.
Well, thank you for being so hopeful and for being a role model to so many. Hal Johnson of BodyBreak, thanks for your time.
Thank you.